Yo, 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 good morning, good evening, whenever you are. Hope you're having a good time. We are here today on the channel to talk about Dark and Darker and the Cleric. In this video about the Cleric, I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about their abilities, what I'd recommend you choose, what items to be on the lookout for, and which stats to kind of want to have on those items. Then I'm going to talk a little bit about solo and team gameplay, and kind of just how to get through that early game is where I'm going to start. The early game of Cleric, because you just start with the 26 damage mace that swings kind of slow and a very, very small shield, may seem a bit daunting. But if you choose the right abilities and cast them effectively, you can become quite strong. Now, I will go over the abilities more in depth later in the video, but I would recommend, and what I will be using in this video, is Divine Strike, Protection, Divine Light, Lesser Heal, and Bless. And as far as your skill, you have to go Skill Memory 1 to be able to memorize any of these spells. And then for the other skill, I would recommend Smite. Now, most people, it seems like, go for the spell where they go Initio Dovanatus, blah, 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 and kill some AI. Now, the only reason I don't recommend that spell is because it doesn't help you in fights against players, for one. For two, it has a long cast time. And for three, Smite can be used on a 15-second cooldown. Now, if you're not familiar, Smite's giving you 10 damage by pressing Q, wiggling your mace for a 1/10 of a second. It is very, very strong. But, word of the wise, if you are in the middle of attacking animation, right? If you have gone one attack or two attacks, you're in for your third attack, holding down left click, mouse button 1, you will not be able to cast Smite. The game will actually stop you, and you'll just keep attacking because you have to actually kind of focus and do that action. But just stop left clicking, press Q, go right back into left clicking. Promise it won't slow you down at all. Now, this early game with these spells is really going to focus around you making sure that you take one mob at a time. You just want to be fighting one skeleton, hiding around them, hitting them, not taking damage. Now, this game is hard. You're going to take damage. You are going to need to use some of your lesser heals on yourself. But that's okay. The good thing about Cleric Solo is, you don't have a lot of other people to buff or heal. So you only need to get through a few rooms to get to where blue down portals or blue escape portals are going to spawn. So just get yourself through those 3 rooms. If you need to buff yourself up a little bit, that's okay. You don't want to be dying with extra buffs you didn't use. One of your main problems to deal with is the Skeletal Archer. I would recommend going around them if you can. If you can't, you have 2 main ways to deal with them, and you will run into them in the early game, at least on floor 2, which is what the last playtest had. My easiest way to get rid of them is just using Divine Light. That does 100 base magical damage to undead. Now, sometimes it's a red archer, and that means that that's not going to work. If you're a new player, I would think run, because a red archer can do a triple and double attack with arrows, which arrows can kill you in either 2 or 3 hits. From a red archer, probably 2. And this base starting buckler is very hard to block this with. And also it's hard to know when in between the shots you can go in for a mace attack. So that one way is Divine Light. Now that's not going to kill a red one. To kill a red one, or to make sure that you're really going to kill, I'd recommend going for a full stat stick. And this also works in the Skeletal Mage. Skeletal Mage won't one-shot you if you have Bless on still. So basically what you need to do is give yourself Divine Strike, plus 10 damage. Give yourself Bless, which is all of your stats. Will, Strength, and Agility, making you faster, stronger, and have more will, whatever the heck that does. And then you just go in, you just bonk them on the head a bunch of times. And always keep in mind that headshots do a lot more damage than body shots. When you're trying to go in and really just attack someone one-on-one like a Skeletal Mage like this, you kind of just want to be bonking them in the head without caring what they're doing, really. because you have a certain amount of time of extra damage. He has a certain amount of health. He can do one damaging ability, that's Fireball. Once he casts it, I mean, try to sidestep it, but once he casts it, his load is blown for a little bit, and you really do have the time to just beat on him. Now, even with the base gear, I have tested this many times, you can totally kill that red skeleton, and the worst he's ever going to do is just hit you in the face one time. That's a little bit of the intro. That's a little bit of how to get through the early game. Now, obviously, my gameplay, you're going to see me missing with the shield. You're going to see me missing with my abilities. But just keep in mind, this is all just kind of friendly cleric advice. I do want to demystify the cleric and make it a more approachable class. It is pretty strong. It is pretty strong. So now I'm going to move into talking about items and stats, which is a little bit boring. So if you want to skip this part, I will be making a watermark. But the items you want to go for is a good mace and a good shield. Good armor and good boots and good gauntlets are very important too. I would always recommend picking up boots and gauntlets and just equipping the best ones. Lightfoot boots are very strong because they give a lot of move speed. Rugged boots are strong. They give you nice armor and magic resist. Plate boots are strong for the same reason. They give a lot of armor. They do have a penalty on magic resist though. They're not very fast. When it comes to that gear, when it comes to armor, I'd recommend just put on stuff. Don't think about it too much. You don't have a lot of time in the raid. When you're getting a little bit to a higher level and you're thinking, okay, do I want agility or strength? I would definitely say that will is very important. It's going to make you heal more and stuff. But strength and agility are going to make you faster and stronger. And tankier, really. So I'd highly recommend stacking those. Knowledge, while you may think, oh, that's only for mages, is going to allow you to memorize more spells. Meaning you could have, you know, all 5 of these spells I recommend and maybe substitute in Resurrection if you're feeling inclined. Save one of your buddies. I've never used it to effect. I think that's kind of a waste of 8 memory. But if you have a bunch of extra knowledge, you might as well. Because knowledge does give you more memory, meaning you can unlock more spells. Each spell does cost memory points in this game. It's an interesting system where you kind of have like a cap of memory. Using the campfire likewise is going to give you those spells back over a duration that is how much memory the spells require. So Resurrection, for instance, costs 8 memory. So you might need to use 2-3 campfires, or maybe like a green campfire, because the better the campfire, the more memory it gives you back, to get back a spell of that caliber. Now, I've rambled on a lot. I think I'm going to make a different video for solo and team gameplay. I hope you liked watching a little bit of my gameplay while hearing about the abilities and then a little bit about the early game of a cleric. The team fights and the solo gameplay are a little bit different, and I'm going to dive right into that in my next video. I hope that you learned some stuff about Cleric. If you have any questions, you know, of course, just drop a question down in the comments. And, of course, this is my second video, so I don't know too much about what I'm doing. If you have any suggestions, please let me know. And, again, have a wonderful day. Stay classy out there. Be cool, not a fool.